High Score Girl starts in a Japanese arcade in 1991. It stars Haoru, kid from middle school that loves his arcade games, his video games, his fighting games. He's always playing video games. And he's playing there Street Fighter 2, the original Street Fighter 2. And suddenly this mysterious girl appears and peeks Zangief out of all people. Mind, he is playing Guile. We all know that the Guile Zangief matchup is a very bad one for Zangief. But then this girl just beats the shit out of him in the game. And he is left with a shattered pride because that's the only thing he's good at. The video games are his thing. He shouldn't be losing like that. And then he sees who the girl is, and it turns out it's Akira Ono. She is the super popular, super pretty, amazing grades and everything, Japanese cliche girl. And he even takes it more as a personal attack then, because he doesn't have any of that. He only has video games. How dare she take his video games away? So he goes for rematches and loses, and on his final coins, his final yen, because mind you, back then in arcades you needed to put coins to play for video games. Every time you lost meant you lost a little bit more money. So with his pride and money on the line, he does the unthinkable. He starts laming it out. Back then, zoning was even more frowned upon than it is today. Money was on the line, not just your pride or some stupid online currency or online points that really don't matter to anything. This was people seeing each other and putting in money to play the game. Everyone in the arcade starts showing disdain for him. But in the second round, he tries to show off and tries to play one-handed, and of course he loses that round. Then the 10th round comes, and he starts walking forward. The Guile is walking forward, and everyone is like, is he actually gonna play honorably? Is he doing it? No, he was trying to tech throw. Tech throwing is this technique where you throw out light punch, light kick, something with very low hit stun, so when they recover from block stun, you throw them. In original Street Fighter 2, throws were unbreakable, did tons of damage, and had very deceiving distances. If zoning was frowned upon, then throwing was something you got stabbed for. He won by doing this forbidden technique, and like I said, the fights broke out because of that, but our main character felt safe because, hey, I'm playing against that girl, she won't do anything. But then she stands up, kicks the arcade machines, walks up to him, and punches his fucking lights out. I fell in love with this show with this sequence alone. Mind you, everything I taught you about fighting games and how the arcade context was back then, it is shown in the anime. The context is there because that's the context it was, but the techniques used in the fighting game were actually explained at a very impressive length. It's simply amazing, and me falling in love with something so fast, of course I had to go to someone to talk about it. So I went that night talking to someone, and I was telling them this exact same story, only to be met by a simple question, repeated several times while I was talking. And you like this? Of course, I just stopped talking. Who likes hearing that question when you're being passionate about something? Even if it's meant as a joke, even if it's not really meant as an attack at your person, it still never feels good. I'll come back to this later, but what I'm trying to say right now is that this anime is very honest. It is very honest about how much it loves video games. And that honesty is a central part of the show. Not just about how the production company loves video games, or how the author loves video games, but with the entire cast and how they evolve, and even the games revolve around honesty. Here I'm going to get into spoilers of on the anime, so if I have sold you on it, please just go watch it. It's on Netflix original, and I really liked it. The main plot of the show is this rivalry that the main character has with this girl, Akira, and how this rivalry turns into friendship and then turns into romantic feelings. You know the usual deal. And as the romantic comedy this actually is, most of the problems the characters face is because they cannot be honest, either if they're not honest with themselves or with each other, or from the impossibility of being honest with yourself. Akira Ono, which I said was the cliche that everyone loves, is also another cliche. The rich girl that does not want to be a rich girl. She comes from a rich family, so she has to take advanced classes, she has to learn piano, she has to do a lot of things she really doesn't want to do, but she's forced to do them. And playing video games is something she can't do. It was forbidden to her. But video games are her passion. And this is something I still like about this cliche. Even if we've seen it 1,000 times, for me there is something beautiful about seeing someone trying to be themselves and not being able to due to peer pressure. It's a tough spot, and a lot of people can relate, especially in nerdy culture, because everyone was made fun of for their video games, or their anime, or their books, or their poetry, or anything that really isn't that popular among the, I don't know what you call them, normies, mainstream audience, whatever you want to call them. And this situation makes her be socially reclusive. Even if she's the popular one, she really doesn't have any friends, she really doesn't relate to anyone, she really doesn't go out because she always has to be studying until she meets the main character. And this is where I segue to the main character. The main character's main trait is that he loves his video games, he's kind of an asshole, but is a good guy nonetheless, which is a huge cliche in anime. But you actually see him grow as a person in this. It's a 15 episode show, and you see him grow quite a bit. It was very satisfying to watch. And his deal is that he's honest that he loves video games. He's honest about this to everyone. What he can't be honest about is his own feelings. He has trouble being honest with himself, with his own feelings, because he really does not understand them. So this is just young naivete. You can't really fault him for it. What you can fault him for, but not really because everyone does it at some point, is that he can't be honest with Akira about his feelings. And this is why even if the two characters are rivals, even if they seem to not really like each other, there are glimpses of that honesty peeking out and how they really feel about themselves. Of course, it would be way easier if you could just be honest and just say it, but we all know it's not that easy. Especially in a situation with Akira, that she can't be honest to who she is because it was forbidden for her. And then the show introduces someone that is honest with their own feelings and is honest about their feelings towards the person they're feeling them for. It's this new girl that falls for our main character. And as you know, the main character is into Akira. She really has no opportunity, but she is being honest with herself even if it hurts. It comes to a point where she challenges our main character to a first to 2 in 3 different fighting games. If she wins, they go out together. If she loses, she will just back down quietly. And this is the point where it becomes very apparent that this idea of honesty also goes into the whole video game concept. This new girl that is called Hidaka, that challenges her main character, trains to beat him at these fighting games. And she trains with other people. And you know how at the start I told you how a lot of the techniques were frowned upon? Well, the character that she uses in Vampire Hunter Darkstalkers, I really don't remember how that was called in the West, or it was the same name, those games have some complicated localized names, but the thing is that her character, Hidaka's character, has a move that basically goes into a kill combo. And she really doesn't use it when she's playing in the arcade against random people. But the new people that are helping her train tell her, you have to use it. You want to, if you want to win, you have to use everything in your arsenal to win. And I really like that, because if you want to win, if you honestly want to win, why wouldn't you? Just a little tangent is where people call the slippery slope of saying like, hey, if you want to win and you want to do anything, why don't you just cheat? The thing is, in fighting games, you use everything in your arsenal, even if it's cheap, because it's the same game for everyone. We are playing the same game. You could choose that character, you could do that cheap move, but you're deciding not to. At that point, do you honestly want to win? Or do you just want an easier time against certain characters? The characters and the games and the mentality around games matures as time goes on in the show. And Hidaka loses, but she decides to not step down and let our main character go quietly as she promised, because her one greatest trait and fault is that she's very honest with herself. She still likes him. Why would she stop trying? And by the way, this is not in a creepy way because they still hold a friendship between them. But why did she fall for this guy? She never played video games to begin with. And the answer is simple. And I'm gonna go into another tangent. When someone gives you an advice for a date or a relationship or whatever, and they tell you, hey, just be yourself, I think that's one of the best things anyone can tell you. It doesn't really mean people will like you immediately. It doesn't mean you will always get in a relationship because of it. It only means that when you do get into a relationship, it was with someone that likes you for who you are. And if no one likes you, that's a whole different subject that I won't touch. And that's why Hidaka fell for him. She was attracted to how honest he was about his passions. And this is where I come back to the beginning of the video. When I heard that question, and you like this? I should have gone, fuck yeah, I like this. There is nothing wrong with expressing and liking something. Sword Art Online is an exception. Honesty is the best policy, but it's not always that simple as with Akira Ono. That's basically it for the thesis of this video. Now I'm just gonna talk about little things that I liked and didn't like. The art style looks weird and kinda jank sometimes, but I actually grew to like it. It looks like if they were 3D models, but their faces are drawn in 2D. I have no idea if this is true, but it feels like this. Like I said, yes, it looks weird, but I grew to like it. Then the explanations of the fighting game mechanics and other mechanics that happen in the beginning of the show kinda fall off the wayside in the later half. I really would have liked more of that. The show has a manga that has 10 volumes, I'm pretty sure, and there's a second season already slated for, I think, October. If you can't wait, if you like the show and you can't wait and you want to go read the manga, go ahead. But honestly, seeing these games actually be played in the anime gives it a little extra for me that I'm just gonna wait for the anime. And that's the video. High Score Girl, highly recommended. Thank you all for watching. See you next time, I guess.